Hello and welcome back to my bookshelf tour, where we are veering back into the alphabetical for a brief moment and then skidding away again. We have got um, John Valiant, The Golden Spruce, a true story of myth, madness, and greed. With gigantic picture of the author. You know, when you're young and got the hair, you should do it. What was it? As vividly as John Krakauer put readers on Everest, John Valiant takes us into the heart of North America's last great forest, where trees grow to 18 feet in diameter. Sunlight never touches the ground, and the chainsaws are always at work. When a shattered kayak and camping gear are found on an uninhabited island, they reignite a mystery surrounding a shocking act of protest. 5 months earlier, logger-turned-activist Grant Hadwin had plunged naked into a river in British Columbia's Queen Charlotte Islands, towing a chainsaw. When his night's work was done, a unique Sitka spruce, 300 years old, 165 feet tall, and covered with luminous golden needles, teetered on its stump. 2 days later, it fell. The tree, a fascinating puzzle to scientists, was sacred to the Haida, a legendary seafaring tribe, not only legendary but actually, still around, based in Queen Charlotte's. Valiant recounts the bloody history of the Haida and the early fur trade, and provides harrowing details. Let's flip to the very back flap of the logging industry, the omnivorous violence which would claim both Hadwin and the golden spruce. The tree was an object of awe and reverence to anyone who laid eyes on it. Through the resonant telling of this book, the reader who never saw it will understand the majesty of the living tree and the meaning of its death, which is, yeah, it's one of these books John Valiant's written for the New Yorker, the Atlantic, Outside, National Geographic Adventure, and Men's Journal, amongst others. He lives in Vancouver, British Columbia, with his wife and children. The Golden Spruce is his first book, which I've still not read, but is like one of these, it's like a really good writer writing about stuff in my backyard as much as the Queen Charlottes are my backyard. I'm a lot further down the coast, but yeah, the Golden Spruce. Yet another book to get to. Then we get to my Jeff Vandermeer collection, the Jeff Vandermeers I have. Let's start off with A City of Saints and Madmen, which is a mosaic novel of various different texts that the weird science fiction writer Jeff Vandermeer assembled together to kind of tell a story of this world. Has Ambergris, city of elegance and squalor, of religious fervor and wanton lust, and everywhere on the walls of courtyards and churches an incandescent fungus of mysterious ominous origins. In Ambergris, a would-be suitor discovers that a sunlit street can become a killing ground in the blink of an eye. An artist receives an invitation to a beheading and finds himself enchanted. And a patient in a mental institution is convinced that he's made up a city called Ambergris, imagining its every last detail, and that he's really from a place called Chicago. Yes, this is the first book I ever read by Jeff Vandermeer. In some ways, it's the book that I of his that really resonates the most with me. That's really I'd like to actually go back to it because it seems to kind of mix a certain amount of kind of a literariness with weird pulp kind of science fiction, and really finds kind of a marriage that I think works, where the literary techniques are fuel the thing, whereas I don't actually have it here. His Zone X or whatever series, I don't find as I find them more teetering over into just straight literary fiction, and um, they don't didn't resonate or didn't work for me, or maybe I just didn't get it as much. This was sort of the first of a kind of a trilogy of books. We start with The City of Saints and Madmen. We've got Shriek. Actually, is it Finch? It's one of these first. Actually, he doesn't. He's pretty loosey goosey on whatever order you want to read these in. Um, there's Finch, which is definitely much more of a noir noir novel. Definitely, it's not doing. He didn't go back to the mosaic style with his the that he did in Cities of Saints and Madmen. It's much more of a noir book. Indeed, it's got kind of a noir cover of, except that gun there is kind of a fungus gun, I believe. It's a very very odd gun. And Shriek, and Afterward, which is, I think, is the last one in it. I can't remember if it's the last one. An epic yet personal look at several decades of life, love, and death in the imaginary city of Ambergris, previously chronicled in Jeff Vandermeer's acclaimed Cities of Saints and Madmen. Shriek and Afterward relates a scandalous, heartbreaking, and horrifying secret history of two squabbling siblings and their confidants, protectors, and enemies. Yes, and narrated with flamboyant intensity by ex-society figure Janice Sheik, this Afterward presents a vivid gallery of characters and events, emphasizing the adventures of Janice's brother, Duncan, a historian obsessed with a doomed love affair, and a secret that may kill or transform him, a war between rival publishing houses that will change Ambergris forever, and the Grey Caps, marginalized people armed with advanced fungal technologies who have been waiting underground for their chance to mold the future of the city. Part academic treatise, part tell-all biography. After this introduction to the family Shriek, you'll never look at history in the same way again. Because yeah, and very much the fungus people in these novels seem to really kind of be kind of a weird science fiction echo of how we imagine, or how white culture has reacted, horribly mistreated native populations in North America. So yes, highly recommend Jeff Vandermeer and whatever where that you want to get. Maybe if you're more into the literary side, you would go for his that trilogy of very highly touted trilogy. Like, people other than me really love that series of was it Annihilation was the first one and was made into a movie, which was, again, is a movie like, it's like vivid, amazing visuals, but it didn't quite get me. Actually, maybe the movie did more so because it had to dramatize stuff versus the odd distancing kind of techniques that he used in that novel, which I guess I like my characters, and this was very much a distancing techniques of literary that way. So was so much my thing. Next, a book that I incredibly really recommend, which is Hild by Nicola Griffith, set in 7th century Britain. This follows Hild through the first part of her life. It is one of these books that I'm waiting for. I believe she's going to be writing more. Nicola Griffith is someone who comes from kind of a science fiction background, and she sort of uses those kind of world building techniques to be a historical novelist and to imagine a time that we probably don't know that much about, really, but to really kind of imagine kind of a mindset and how the people might really view the world, and how they're, and then telling that story through their view, and just like what was the world like in like a 17th, what did the world look like to people who lived in the 7th century Britain, not like how we would go back and kind of go, oh, this is grubby and there's lots of disease and this just all this. It's like, no, it's like actually from their point of view, like this is that kind of a lived world thing. So yeah, I really really recommend that. And then here, let's finish off with an oddly uh, my some very nonfiction kind of holdovers from pre-internet days. My Funkin' Wagnall's Canadian College Dictionary, nice thick thing that I probably haven't looked at in years, and I'll probably hold on to just because, dictionaries, who has them anymore? And then a little bit from my maybe college days, probably my college university days, a dictionary of literary, dramatic, and cinematic terms, which, might not be a bad thing. Though, again, there's this thing called the internet where you often just look things up before you even would go to a book like this. And here's something that maybe actually probably could survive the thing, which is 3 genres: the writing of poetry, fiction, and drama by Stephen Minot. Minot, either Minot or Minot, depending on how Frenchified he is. which is students of contemporary writing have been turning to three genres for creative direction and advice for 23 years. So this is, was around for a good while, even when before I bought it. This classic work has enjoyed so much success over so much time, is a testament not only to its content, but the persistent efforts of its author to keep it up to date. So I guess he's also kind of gone through, and I think I remember as I was going through it, he would try and kind of find more contemporary examples. That said, it's probably contemporary examples for whenever this fourth edition was published, which 1988 might be where it's at this point in the fourth edition. So yeah, it's the writing of poetry, what makes a poem, the source of poetry, the language of poetry, images, the sound of words, rhythms of stress, rhymes of free verse, tone, from unit to unity, developing as a poet, poems for study, and then doing the same thing with fiction and writing of drama. And I think that's plays versus, I don't know, there's a little section there writing for film, though I don't know how as much that maybe it would go into that. That actually is someone who kind of slightly struggles sometimes to write poetry. I might actually look at just for inspiration and just sort of a form to put in. All right, I will stop there, and then we can go to my discard pile next. And then we'll go back into just my general population of books. But yes, we're going the holding cell for all the books that I've read, and I've decided, okay, there, once this shutdown has happened, is over, some books I can release back into the wild. All right, more videos later.